Alright, everyone. Let's get back to building our dictatorship, shall we? So, what do we have in the news? Unemployment and checks. Okay. Administration has funding from populism. Giving people money will solve the problems. Um, well, I do need people on my side if I'm going to be a benevolent dictator, so help. Okay, so the radicals, obviously, they like that. Okay, what do we have next? I think that's where we have to go. Finalization the highway contract. Okay. After a lengthy drive on cliffside roads, we arrive in Lenkurk. There crowds of cheering citizens greeted us, and the local government officials escorted us to the city hall. We were here for a significant meeting about the H3 project. Several construction companies sent their representatives to the city hall. Gus Manger couldn't make the meeting due to his visit to Risia, but I had Simon Hall and Lilias Graf by my side. Besides starting our economy recovery, this project will cut the time it takes to get here by road in half, Mr. President. More importantly, it will lead to improvement in Agneland. I have lived with these people and seen them suffer. Alright, I hope so, Lilias. With the highway, we will be well on our way to economically strengthening this weak region. According to my estimation, this project will give about 50,000 citizens from Angland employment. Okay. What do we see? Failure during this project is not an option. We will not let the people or ourselves down. I will not let that happen to any of us. Our economic revitalization plan is set to be a success. Failure is indeed not an option. Simon searched through the documents he was holding and found the one he was looking for. I have the overview of the companies here. Okay. And the files. Let's look at the files. I look at the files. 3 corporations were listed: the Sorger State Corporation, Underhall Construction, and Taurus Holding. I reviewed them. I also took the liberty of asking the mayor of Arvory to give his opinion on the matter. Which corporation should we talk about? Right, what about our state corporation? The respected Sorger State Corporation, also known as the SSC, was founded in 1891. It is the main state corporation tasked with running the day-to-day construction services of our country. The SSC is one of our most trusted and honorable companies. They have served us a long time. I have worked with them on several occasions. It would fulfill your initial economic promise of using a state-dominant planned economy to improve Swordland's bleak economic prospects. They have the experience and the manpower to pull off a project like this. Elias paused for a second. Secondly, they are the only company to have worked in the Angland region out of all 3 companies. The outdated construction methods that they use concern me. They are several decades behind. Right. Yeah, the lack of modern attitude is disappointing. Lilias, I don't agree with your negative statement, Simon. The SSC record clearly shows completed contracts with thousands of employees who have more than 20 years of experience. Alright. I like the SSC, but want to hear about the others. What about the Underhall? Simon, the real estate and construction giant was founded in 1925 and expanded during the economic boom in the 30s. Picking this corporation would go against our planned economy policy. The CEO of Underhall is Chris Schaar, the mayor of Conrad. He sold half of his share a few years ago. I had to work with Underhall Construction before in Holsord. They accepted several contracts for the renovation of our central station and left much to be desired. The H3 project shouldn't be left to them. So how was your experience with them? Lydias. Out of all 3, this is the company I trust the least. They seem to fail at respecting the contract terms or of their workers, and they are likely to cause trouble. I'm not too sure about trusting them with the contract, but at least they have worked on several mega projects and always deliver on time, says Simon. Working conditions must be respected. This doesn't inspire confidence. Lilias, I agree. The workers were undocumented Agnolian and Versek immigrants with no papers, a clear violation of our laws. According to them, the tight completion schedule necessitated such bad labor conditions, which still doesn't justify the situation. Simon. Underhall has specifically mentioned their solid track record and highlighted that they do anticipate to go over budget, but that the project will be finished on time. Like, how can you even make a proposition and then say, like, by the way, we will go over the budget? Isn't this something that, like the bare minimum when you are creating a contract or an offer is to be within the budget? I mean, I don't know, call me crazy, but it seems like it should be the case. I'm not so sure about Underhall. What about Taurus? Simon. Taurus Holding was founded in 1946 and is owned by the entrepreneur Gerald Weiss. It is a new holding company whose subsidiaries use cutting-edge technology from Arcasia to reduce construction costs and prices. They are also known to provide for their workers who are part of the labor union of Scotland. There are other things Taurus does very well, like providing consultants for state corporations, but I can't vouch for their infrastructure construction at all. So why shouldn't we go with them? Well, one of our promises would be respected. We promised to focus on the plant economy to create jobs. This company is completely private and directed by a non-government board. Do we even remember if they worked on mega projects at all? I think they should say one of our promises wouldn't be respected, I guess. Leah's side. Choosing this company is too much of a risk for such an important project, especially when a proven candidate like the SSC exists. Yes, we shouldn't risk. Simon. They took a joint contract in Arcasia for reconstructing the highway intersection of one of the major cities. It went well, but it is their only large-scale success. We're going to try a different company. This is the most unique. The project manager from Taurus Holding mentioned that they would be able to finish the project with the allocated funding. They are the only company who found the budget sufficient, making them a cheaper alternative. Okay, so both of the other ones actually go above the budget. Okay, interesting. Yeah, I don't feel confident about them because, sorry, it will be going to our state-owned company, of course. I have settled on the SSC. Good. And that we are staying consistent to our economic strategy. Simon sign a certain section of the dossier and fix his glasses. Very well, Mr. President. The contract will be awarded to the Swedish State Corporation. Lilias, I'm so glad that you have made that choice. I can tell from my experience that we will be very satisfied with this corporation. Simon, the company will be notified today and construction work will begin immediately after. Alright, good luck to us. Simon, my expectations are that the grand opening ceremony will happen late next year. Lilias, it better get back to work then. Thank you, this concludes the meeting. The meeting ended and we spent the remainder of the day attending events in Lenkurk. It was so nice to enjoy the natural beauty of Agland and eat some good fish. Alright, we still have 3 budgets, pretty good. What do we have now? We have some more news. Construction begins for H3, okay. If you guys want to read, pause. And then Sorlon today, risky highway project, okay. They apparently don't really like that. Oh, okay, I guess these are going to be some sort of the capitalist ones or something. Right, what next? Next one is there, I guess. Okay, funeral of Bernard Circus. That's going to be a big event. Yeah, I will attend. The death of Bernard Circus has shook the country, and his funeral will be held in Dare, among a large crowd of sympathizers. Circus was not only a communist poet, but also an elected MP that had a voice. A state funeral has been organized to honor him. The question is whether the president and the administration will attend the funeral or not. Let's attend. Okay. Dark clouds were looming over there. They looked daunting as our convoy started approaching the century-old cemetery. It looked like it was going to rain, certainly fitting weather for a funeral. As expected, Bernard Circus passing maintained its media attraction, and all of the Swordland was paying attention to the ceremony, especially to what I would say in my speech today. Serge, sir, we have arrived. Raindrops were running down the car window when Serge opened my door and held an umbrella over my head. As soon as I got out, flashes from the cameras blinded me. Thank you. It is my duty, sir. He silently started following me while holding the umbrella. Petre and Karl exited from their own cars in the convoy. They made their way over me. Anton? Mr. President. I just wanted to inform you that the perimeter is clear and secured completely. There is no one getting in or out without our knowledge. Better. We don't want something similar happening again, do we? Carl, absolutely not, Mr. President. The same mistakes will never happen again. I personally made sure of that. Petre, good. If anything happens to Anton, you will have to answer to the First Lady. And trust me, Carl, you don't want that. Petre let out a laugh, which drew some attention from bereaved attendees. Gestured Petre to lower his voice. Petre, you're right, sorry. It started to rain. Several unintelligible voices were heard from Carl's radio. He stepped out to reply and returned shortly. Carl, we have a small problem, sir. A few, 5 to be exact, Red Youth members are here to attend the funeral. They apparently said they wish to pay their respect to their fallen comrade. Should we let them in? Let them in, but put a few guards on them. Carl, as you command. Petre, let's head over. They are about to start. We walked towards the crowd, circled around the grave. Everyone in attendance was wearing black in mourning. The rain started pouring heavily. Bernard's widow and daughter were in front row, staring at the coffin, with a mixture of disbelief, confusion, and above all, a cold, unforgiving sadness. Both of their eyes were very red and swollen from weeping. Before taking my place to observe the ceremony, I gave my condolences to Bernard's wife, to his daughters, who looked at me. She reminded me of Dina. When the religious ceremony was done, I was invited by the priest to deliver my speech. I took the podium. I felt like I had a lump in my throat. Couldn't get the daughter's eyes out of my head. Today we are mourning Bernard Circus, a father, a husband, and a loyal servant to this country. Towards the back of the crowd I spotted the members of the Red Youth, wearing red shirts and black bands of mourning on their arms. They seemed ruly and were respectfully bowing their heads. There was complete silence except for the sound of raindrops. He was a true comrade and he fought for what he believed in, his ideal vision of Swordland in every step of his life. We must learn from him. Okay, that was actually the ending as well. Circus had a dream of united Swordland. In these next months, we need to fulfill his dream and band together. Hatred begets hatred. Hatred begets hatred. There is only one way to overcome the vicious circle. We must unite against the evil of this world. Even though I'm going to bring a police state and a lot of military. But hey, you know, I'm a politician. I will say one thing and do something completely different. I would now like to recite one of the poems he left us. We rise towards the sun. Those who died, died fighting. They are now buried in the sun. No need to mourn. There is a raid to the sun. A moment of silence, please. During the silence, all that was heard were the ravens. Some attendees started clapping, some crying. The coffin was lowered into the grave by the gravekeepers. After a couple of minutes, Bernard Circus was with the soil, no more. As we bid farewell to Bernard, I want to close with the words every sword lives by, Amorgna Wes Cor. Everyone replied, Vectern sees da. With applauses, I stepped down from the podium. It was time to leave. The widow thanked me with a soft and defeated voice before we dispersed. On my way back to the car, I still couldn't get the eyes of Bernard's daughter, nor the faltering voice of his wife out of my head. Would Dina, Monica, and Frank look the same way if something happened to me? Petr put his hand on my shoulder. That was a good speech. I sensed only respect in his voice. Nod. Come on, it's time to go. We've got work to do. He was right. We had work to do. So much more to do. I realized that the rain had stopped and I looked up. The black clouds slowly dispersed and sunbeams enlightened our surroundings. Someone once said, even the darkest nights will end and the sun will rise. Hope was still on the horizon. Alright, news probably will be just all about this. Those who die fighting. Okay. Let's see. Unifying message, okay. Cool, how about here? Stands together with Red Youth. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. Okay. What do we have here? A briefing on the current diplomatic situation. The Blue Mansion in Lakaven hosted us for the important diplomacy gathering. The door opened and Davide Vici, once a lecturer to me, now the Minister of Foreign Affairs, gently made his way towards my desk. May I sit down, Mr. President? I guess. Of course, it's a pleasure to see you, Mr. VC. Likewise, we have so much ahead of us to accomplish. He slowly sat down, taking care not to aggravate the arthritis in his knees. He'd always had an air of gravitas about him, and old age had only served to deepen that. After he settled himself, he regarded me with delight, his blue eyes sparkling. Look at you, Anton, the fourth president of Swordland. What a privilege for me. I still remember the first day you took my class at Holsort State University. Somehow, the inexplicable ebb and flow of life has led us here, the positions where where we can change the course of history. This is our opportunity to shape the future, and we will do precisely that. I'm looking forward to our new foreign policy, said David. I am excited to present you with the latest bill I'm working on. The TCPA has turned out to be an initiative that may significantly boost our tourism and culture industry. This untapped value would help us to promote our position internationally. I am convinced it can also help improve our economic conditions after discussions with Ministers Hall and Manger. The GNA factions are supportive too. I really shouldn't have worked overtime hours to get it done, but I really care for the position and value of our... He started coughing again, this time for longer. Would you like some tea or water? Oh yes, please. Tea and water sounds nice. Thank you very much. Both, huh? Damn. He smiled. Livia brought 2 cups of tea along with a glass of water and placed them on the table. It seems you still remember how much I like tea. Nowadays, it really does wonders for my throat. How's your health, David? It's weird, like, I guess it's still pronounced David, but it's just written that way. I'm not sure, actually. Oh, I haven't had any big complications except the usual, after that heart attack earlier this year. The health complications aren't a hindrance to my work, of course, but thanks for asking. How's the Rain family? Monica, we are slowly starting to get used to the routine. As time passes, I realize it more. Family is the most important thing in life. We must take care of them. The door opened. Josef and Lucian joined us for the briefing as the tall case clock hit the hour mark. Pet, however, was missing. I wondered if he was late from all the drinking he did at the party in La Caven. David. We'll talk more later, President Rain. Welcome, everyone. Let's begin. David. Very well. I will start by providing a brief overview of our current status with our neighbors. What would you like to start with? Okay. Let's just go one by one. How about Agnolia? Our brotherly nation to our northeast, Agnolia. They are still diplomatically non-aligned and probably has one of the most democratic systems between our neighbors. Economic stagnation is a worry for them. Their primary issue is their heavy reliance on foreign investment from us. Magnolia is our most friendly neighbor. We have been allies for the longest time after Rumburg's action in the region. This fact needs to be part of the equation. Unsurprisingly, the Agnolian Prime Minister Martin van Horten is expecting better cooperation through a new fair trade deal between us. It was one of his election mandates. We should maintain our existing agreement. We can't lose our advantage. David, that would be the most pragmatic choice. Our export tariffs to Agnolia are incredibly low under the current agreement. Additionally, the latest numbers indicate that currently 1 million Agnosordi citizens live in Agnoland region of Swordland. Lucian, which creates a link between foreign policy and our internal affairs. These people have suffered socioeconomically, which led them to crime and other problems. Joseph. In addition, a relaxed immigration policy was one of the Agnolia's main requests, which is unacceptable. Most of the migrants in our country haven't even assimilated into Sword's culture. Adding more won't help. I am supportive of relaxed immigration. As I said, benevolent dictator. Joseph, I would rethink the matter seriously because it has great influence on our society and values. Lucian, we should remember that we promised to keep our immigration laws relaxed in the election campaign. Okay, how about Valksland? Our cousins of old across the Markian Sea wish to have good relations with us. As we all know, Valksland is a socialist republic aligned with United Contana. They are an important regional player. Okay, so this is Valgland. Okay, I'm not going to be reading the whole thing. Although let me know in the comments if you will want me to, read all of the codex entries. I can do that. But as you can see, these can be pretty long. So I think also you can pause and read if you want on your own. Same with United Contana. This is basically our Soviet Union, I guess. Then yeah, Federalist Socialist Republic. I rarely read this word. Okay. Alright. It's also the most significant sea power in almost all of Mercopa. It is the only country that can rival the superpowers with their navy. We had hostile relations with them after several wars in the 19th century, which we wouldn't want to experience again. Recently, the relationship has warmed up thanks to the Hegel. As a result, diplomatic talks can be conducted in the future. Breaking the ice with Valksland could be good if we are to rise diplomatically. I agree. They could be potential allies in my opinion. The situation in the region necessitates that we find allies. Joseph. They haven't been in good standing with us for the past 200 years. Recently, they have also joined the Communist Contana Security Pact, subjugating themselves to United Contana. On top of that, territorial issues have been flaring up between Agnolia and Valksland because of the Heldiant Island. The Swordfish Navy is very concerned with this volatile situation. Lucian looked slightly worried. Lucian, unfortunately, billions of Swordfish Ren worth of cargo is transported close to Valkslandian maritime borders on the Mercan Sea and Grey Strait. This causes significant risks to our imports and exports in the case of deterioration in relations, almost like the Strait of Hormuz nowadays. The strait is of high strategic value to us. Lucian. Joseph. The Navy is keeping an eye on the situation from a distance, right? Joseph. We are actively monitoring the sea routes and cargo ships. For now, there is no immediate threat, but we don't know what can happen in the future. Okay, so what is the latest situation in Vechlen? It is tumultuous in the south, as always. Viktor Smolak is expanding his power among protests from Vechsek people. However, he is quite positive about a normalization of relationships between our countries. Okay, Republic of Vechlen, Nationalist Party of New Socialism, okay. So I guess this is just also a dictatorship. Yes. But they don't seem to be as closely allied to the Soviet Union as the other one. Okay. Despite purging of ex-communists. Oh, okay, so he is not communist. It's okay. I guess basically like right-wing socialist kind of a deal then, I assume. Reports indicate that they have been warming up to Contana international aid. As you know, Vechlan's stability was always a concern for the region. But if we want to help them, we must not treat refugees like we did in the 30s. I still can't stomach the inhumanity that those people suffered. I mean, the trade agreement with them would improve stability and increase mutual trade. There would be many bargaining chips discussed, but Vechlen could be a new partner in the region. We would also invest in stability there. Our main goal should be to avoid a refugee crisis like the late 20s. That civil war had a major security and economic repercussions on Swordfish soil. Joseph, one of the demands of President Smolak was to tighten our immigration laws. so the political refugees don't escape to Swordland. There had been a recent purge that pushed many Bloodish to flee to Bergia. It is definitely troubling. Gumren outpost has regained its importance due to this. I'm sure you would remember that winter at the border outpost, Mr. President. He was right. I did remember that winter. I remembered how cold it was when I let the refugees slip through. I was discharged of my duties as a result by Major Yusuf, no less spending the rest of my service cleaning toilets and sleeping in a cell. Yusuf, in fact, there had been similar refugee situations in the past. Even Mr. President himself chose to disobey direct orders from his commanding officer at the time. And you made me sleep in a prison cell for it. I will never forget that. That is the point of disciplinary actions. He opened his mouth to continue, but David cut in. David, our focus should be on the current matters. The Bloodish minority is very large inside Vechlan too, which is a factor to consider. It is in our national interest to prevent the formation of a failed state on our western border. Lucian, Vechlan has been increasingly aligning itself towards the Communist Alliance, another point to analyze. Right, let's move on. David. Two important neighboring countries remain, Lesbia and Rumburg. Which would you like to hear about first? What about Lesbia? Our southern neighbor is aligning itself more and more with Arcasia. Lesbia is currently led by Prime Minister Patricio Alvarez. Lucian. They are the jewel of the continent and the second largest economy in the eastern Mercopa. Though wealthy, Lesbia suffers from excessive economic inequality. David, our past relationships have been great, but during the last decade their investment to Swordland dwindled due to our instability. And they keep turning a blind eye toward the region, thinking that Lesbia is above it all. David, the lesbian mentality is influenced by a certain aura of heroism and specialism. Their moral compass is different from ours. I am certain that the recession has had a lot to do with their retraction of investments. Once they see that the money isn't in the picture, they vanish rather quickly because they are capitalists. Joseph, they have shown a selfish attitude during the Vechland Civil War by closing their borders and funneling refugees across to Swordland. Lucian cleared his throat. Our values are too different with Lesbia, it will be hard to see eye to eye. David, I completely agree. Lesbia has for a long time benefited from us through our old tariffs. They are after exploitation. Lucian, there are hundreds of very privileged oligarchs who invest inside and outside of Lesbia. Some made significant business investments in the cities of Benfi and Valgen. Okay. What is the situation with Rumburg? Now to the most troublesome nation, Rumburg, a constitutional monarchy led by Queen Beatrice Livingstone. Joseph, I highly advise caution and calculated action against Rumburg. Our military must be prepared. The threat is real. David, they are strong and have the motivation as well as the means to damage us. We shouldn't give them any reasons to pursue aggression. We must prevent them from interfering in our affairs. David, they have shown similar behavior to the neighboring countries before, but we must be cautious. Joseph, while Thornburg openly denies such claims, their past and current actions make it clear that they want to destabilize us. The weapons caches found by our intelligence agency clearly show what their goals are. A military must be steadfast and our diplomacy valiant. Joseph looks stern and full of resolve. Game. The Rumburg threat is one of our top priorities, you can be assured of that. David, we are always in dialogue with our Rumburg ambassador to make sure a channel is open to solve disputes. Could use their aggressive Lucian. We could use their aggressive attitude against them by convincing the international community. Lucian grabbed the Lakavan Times newspaper and put his finger on the article about the latest diplomatic incident. Their abrupt announcement about the closure of the Rumbuk consulate in Lakavan is yet another step in their escalation. David, this covers the overview of the current situation. We will move on to our trade choice and the response to Rumbuk diplomatic escalation. The sun began to set over the hills surrounding Lakavan. The team was ready to give advice on the new trade initiatives and their response to the latest diplomatic incident with Rumbuk. Petr arrived late. He looked a little rougher than usual. It might have been from drinking from last night. Petr, hey there folks, excuse my delay. I'm sure I didn't miss anything we didn't already know. Joseph, you were still supposed to be part of this meeting, an hour ago. Lucian, punctuality is important. We are talking about serious subjects here. They have a point, Petr. We should have discipline in the cabinet. Petr, excuse me, it won't happen again. Lucian and Joseph looked at Petr before David moved away from the subject. David, the Vice President will be part of the trade delegation, so it will be great to have his input on the subject as well as on the Rumbuk incident. Rumbuk Consul Sir Brian Harrington announced the closure of the 120-year-old consulate. Now the diplomatic staff is leaving the city to go back to Thornburg. Lucian, you blamed the lack of the security in Sørland due to the assassination and the subsequent protest, but it is obvious that they are making excuses. Joseph, bastards. First, they close their consulate and then they blame our security. The security situation is under control. They are playing with us. Petr, isn't it telling that other countries are working with us while Rumbuk is just cutting more ties with us? David, the neglect of President Alfonso and the chaos of the elections delayed our diplomatic efforts. Now there are only 2 Rambark diplomatic missions left in Sørland. One is the consulate in Deir, and the other the embassy in Holsort. I must display strength to my people. We can't be pushed around. Petr, all of this may be a calculated plan of action to push us into a corner and get us to act irrationally. David, this is my fear. They might be looking for a casus belli and are slowly spiraling downwards to find reasons to wage war. Joseph Lancel was furious. He barely kept himself from slamming the desk. There are worrying developments like the smuggled arms and the build-up near the border. A military must be buffed up to stand up against a great power like Rumbuk. David, we either respond to this aggressive act with a diplomatic condemnation, or we retaliate by closing our consulate in Dome. Lucian, I want to say that an escalation would be risky this early in our presidency. We should focus on creating a negative image of Rumbuk in the international scene. Joseph, the people of Sørland must be protected, no matter the cost. I say we respond equally. Now, in general, I do want to escalate with them, because I anyway want to invest quite a lot in the army. But I think it might be a bit too early to do it. You know, like I would prefer to have some allies before I can actually, you know, start the war with them. I'm just going to write an official diplomatic response condemning this unreasonable act, declare that Rumbuk aims to destabilize Sørland and the region. I first need to get some army going, maybe some alliances, then I can go hard on them. David, as you wish, Mr. President. I shall begin work by immediately informing the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Trade. Lucian, swaying their international state is the key in long-term strategy. Joseph, I wish we had reacted more strongly. If we don't confront them, they will keep escalating the situation. Petr, I, on the other hand, am glad that we are taking the more cautious road. David, there are 3 trade-related topics to address today. Which topic should we tackle first? We should talk about the ongoing trade negotiations with our neighbors, Vechlen and Agnolia. Our primary goal will be to successfully sign at least one trade agreement with one of our smaller neighbors. We have two options with our trade initiative: starting the new negotiations with our old partner Agnolia to the northeast, and forming a new cooperation with Vechlen to the west. Tell me about the trade deal with Agnolia. First off, the reason behind this option is more diplomatic than economic, although of course we can't forgo the added economic value. Agnolia is an old ally and a valuable trade partner. The point we are at with the early negotiations is around the steel trade. They are demanding that we buy their steel for a higher price. That is because they think the deal is far too unbalanced as it is. Their second main demand is a privileged access to our agricultural market. If we are to fulfill their demands, in return they are offering a full alliance with Swordland against Rumburg. Joseph, looking at the current advances of Rumburg near our borders, having a coalition against Rumburg would prove extremely useful. David, obviously there will be consequences for entering a full alliance, mainly the issues around Helgeland, Valksland, has clear intentions of taking over the island one way or the other, and entering a military alliance with Agnolia will make them furious. Joseph, I want to state my support for the decision to stick to our old ally Agnolia. Even though I disagree with their demand of relaxed immigration, we have cooperated with them on many issues in the past. Petr, there are obviously subjects that we would still need to tackle, like our economies, the traded goods, and what to do with immigration. David, my opinion is that this is a good deal and we should go for it. The new Agnolian Prime Minister is trying to improve the existing relationship. The thing is, I don't think I want to, well, I definitely don't want to have a military alliance with them because, I'm going the kind of communist dictatorship route. So I want to ally myself more with the Valkland. The downside is that we would need to make concessions, a reality of any trade deal. We can't position ourselves against Valksland. David, that is certainly a valid reason. If you decide that Agnolia is a good option, another point is that they have a very democratic system. After the recent elections, the PM has made a mandate to arrange a fair deal with us. Martin van Horten also is an avid supporter of relaxed immigration. Since we said we will keep immigration relaxed, it will help us. Starting the highway construction in Agland plays a part too. Lucian, regardless, if we are going to increase our regional influence to previous levels, we might need to make amends with our neighbors. Ultimately, the decision will be up to you as always. Right, tell me about the trade deal with Vechlen. David, dealing with a fractured country like Vechlen has its positives and negatives. Although it will be lucrative in the short term, there are risks associated with dealing with such a country. They are proposing co-investment projects and a non-tariff agreement. They are also offering oil in return for attracting foreign capital interest from Swordland. However, it is possible that there will be international ramifications of getting close with a country like Vechlen. All in all, this is a very lucrative deal for us. However, we need to think about the consequences. Joseph, I certainly don't support the decision to become friendlier with Vechlen. We carry their burdens for decades. Their migrants flooded our country, and now they are expecting a deal from us. Petr, maintaining influence with Vechlen could prove useful. Yes, it is risky, but think about our influence on the underdeveloped regions like that. We could also sell more products and enter their market easily. David, I am of the opinion that it is simply too risky. Yes, we would gain resources and immediate capital, but I'm afraid about the consequences. You might be right, it's risky. Lucian, I tend to agree. David, if we wish to go forward with the deal when the time comes, there is a topic of immigration to consider. Vitor Smolak is a known isolationist. Jesus Christ, why did I struggle with this word? Our promise to keep our immigration policy relaxed will not help at all. He blames us for bringing Western interests to the region. He also doesn't want his political opponents to flee here. Lucian: I personally don't like the idea of getting too close to Vechlen. David: me too. Joseph: agreed. Petr: I still think we should give it a try. Right? David: since we did not promise to align with neither East nor West, it is very likely that their concerns would be more around the deal itself. Our neutrality strategy might ease the tensions with Rumburg, since their primary concern is the strengthening of the superpower blocks. The last handful of monarchies in Merkopa are reactive against the influences of Arcasian capitalism and oh my god, I give up. I don't even know how to pronounce this. We also need to consider the effect of our economic doctrine plan. The fact that we are headed towards a planned economy will have an influence. But good negotiators optimize the interest, which makes the difference between trivial, allowing both sides to reach a deal. David: very true, Mr. Vektern. We have a lot of time to prepare before the scheduled visit to Vechlen and Agnolia. I believe this gives a brief overview of our current options. Our trade delegations will begin to work towards the end of the year. We expect final negotiations and the signing of the trade agreements to happen next year. Petr: I am very much looking forward to visiting Stalwart and Vradzlavic with a party animal like David and Simon. Petr laughed. Joseph narrowed his eyes and stared at him. Alright, I'd like to know more about Risia. The nation south of Lesbia is a centralized constitutional monarchy led by King Romus Thoras, the grandson of Queen Lisa Thoras the Great and son of King Valero Thoras the Frail. Lucian: the kingdom is a developed nation that wielded considerable influence in southern Merkopa before the reign of Valero. The country has lost some territory due to internal strife. David: the Alfonso government signed vital trade agreements with King Romus Thoras, benefiting both nations at a time of need. Attempts at further cooperation stalled out due to the king blood ties to Romburg. Okay, so what are the blood ties? In the 1930s, King Romus married Princess Lena Livingstone, the youngest daughter of King Alfred Livingstone II, sister of Queen Beatrice Livingstone. Lucian: it was a political marriage that benefited Risia, helping to save it from downfall. The two nations are close, to say the least. Well, if they're close, then definitely we are not really going to be able to do anything with them. Joseph: the Thoras and Livingstone families should be considered allies for the time being. However, from a practical standpoint, they are too far from each other to provide military support. David: both countries are also part of the worldwide network of monarchies known as Grace. I love that that's the name for the worldwide network monarchies. The framework is mostly financially and politically motivated due to the pressures of communism, I'm just going to say, to democracy. Okay, I should, this word is probably going to be here a lot. So, Malenievism, maybe, something like this. Petr: all these kings and queens disagree more than agree, but they are forced to tolerate each other's differences. Imagine if Coronti and the ASBC cast the world's remaining oligarchs in a soap opera. Let's stay on point. Sure, Petr. Lucian knocked on the table. Lucian: we should be more concerned with... Petr interjected and reached into his pocket. Petr: actually, a friend of Gus, called Rusty, gifted me this beautiful piece of full Risian gold coin. They say it helps to find love. Look. Petr pulled out an ornamental coin and put it on the table. It was so polished that it caught reflections of light in the room. Lucian was clearly frustrated. Let's move on. Lucian: as you wish, and thank you. Alright, let's discuss the deal potential and what's on the table. David: From what we have gathered, there is no clear offer yet. The interest clearly seems to be more control over the gas produced and sold in Sordland. I suspect this must be related to the recent tensions on the coast of Pales. Mr. Munger is working out the details to get more concrete headline terms soon. Of particular interest are the gas fields in the Narbel area of the Nargis region, Petre. That must be, sorry, Petre, that must be related to Gazprom operations. Gas have ties with the people around that corporation. Even though there is another CEO, Evald Alfonso is still chairman. Lucian. Gazprom is a private corporation, a fact that limits our control over any foreign investment. Tarkin Sol Energy Protection Act of 1932 specifically limits the purchases of Swedish energy company shares by foreign nations to 10%. Evald Alfonso adjusted this law in 1948 and increased it up to 20%. Anything above that requires us to change the Energy Protection Act. Evald holds most of the Gazprom cards in his hands still. Gazprom is private but still sells more of the gas it produces to Sordland, right? I see a strong case for Tarkim Sol regulation. Energy security is important for our nation. Petre. We don't want to find ourselves in the energy crisis situation of the early 30s, where nations like Römberg and Lesbia leached off our weakened position and charged us triple the cost per cubic ton. Lucian. They smelled weakness, and thanks to initiative of the Sol government and the technocrats, the nation survived those hardships. Joseph. No matter how much people criticize Sol these days, the colonel is the reason why Sorland can stand mostly independent in this age. David. The energy topic is gaining importance again with the tensions in the Antacean Sea. I'm keeping a close watch on the situation. Lucian pulled out a pen and took a few notes. David coughed a bit and then continued talking. From our diplomatic channels, we can tell that Lesbia is still very interested in Swedish petrol, whereas Römberg wants more gas resources. Joseph. As a sovereign nation, we must protect our resources. Our energy independence is part of our national security concern here. Gazprom handles most of the gas production. Keeping close control over critical resources is in sync with our planned economy strategy. Joseph, I'm very glad you have chosen the Sorland-centric paths, Mr. President. David. In theory, centralization works, but it leaves little room for outside help when internal conditions are dire. Joseph, if Rizia wants to buy more than 20% of shares allowed by the protectionist laws, then the government can step in to make changes to the EPA. Lucian, precisely. But we don't know if this will be the case. There is a scenario in which they might invest within the EPA limitations. We just have to hear more before weighing the options. Petre. They never revealed much about their involvement to me, but I always had the feeling that Alfonso crew was more linked to Gazprom than they seemed. Lucian. I have information that the CEO that replaced Alfonso is a loyalist. Alfonso is still the chairman of Gazprom, and the de facto key figure. Additionally, National Business Council Chairman Mikhail Aven and Minister Munger have shares in the company and preside over the board. Let's see. The shareholder links raise questions regarding Alfonso and Munger's motivations. Lucian, I suspect that the corporation isn't doing too well, and they're seeking investments. Any investment into Gazprom will enrich the owners, but might also lead to more jobs and growth. David, any further comments, esteemed cabinet members? The room went silent, and no one stepped forward. It was noticeable how much people respected VC. He carried the soul of Sordland as a symbol of the past. David, I think this summarizes all we know and what we stand to gain. Mr. President, what are your thoughts? And we will have to wait and hear more from Mr. Munger to decide. Petre, if there is one thing Gas is good at, it's making deals. David, I'm curious how it will develop. It's mostly out of the hands of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs for now. Lucian, I will assist in analyzing the political implications, Mr. VC. David, thank you. Our support staff and I will be working towards the next step soon after receiving more context from Mr. Minger. Our ambassador in Porte de Razon is in communication with Lorento Esquibel, the Rizian Chancellor of Foreign Affairs already. Well, that concludes our meeting, Mr. Rain. Mr. President, you should say. I am the dictator, come on. Keep up. Okay. See you later, gentlemen. Lucian, I will take my leave then. Sir? Okay, the meeting concluded and the team dispersed. Our diplomatic action plan officially began.